The rain had been falling for hours, thick sheets of water bouncing off the cracked asphalt as Jack and Emily drove down the desolate road. Their headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating twisted trees that seemed to lean toward them as if whispering warnings. Up ahead, barely visible through the sheets of rain, loomed the old mansion. Its outline was jagged against the stormy night sky, broken windows like hollow eyes staring down at them, and the gnarled branches of ancient trees scratching at its walls. The locals called it the Whispering Manor, a place avoided for decades, a building spoken about in hushed tones with warnings not to approach. Tonight, however, Jack and Emily had made the decision to venture inside. "Are you sure this is it?" Emily's voice trembled, more from fear than the cold rain soaking through her jacket. Jack swallowed hard and nodded, keeping his hands steady on the steering wheel. "Yeah, this is it. Just one night, Em. One night, and we'll see what all the rumors are about." He pulled the car onto the muddy driveway and cut the engine. The sudden silence after the storm's roar made the surroundings feel even heavier, almost alive. They climbed out of the car, the mud squelching beneath their boots, and approached the front steps. The mansion seemed to shift slightly as the wind howled through broken windows, as if exhaling after years of silence. Every step they took echoed unnaturally, the sound swallowed by the oppressive darkness around them. Emily clutched her flashlight, flicking it on and off nervously. The beam of light trembled as she shined it on the entrance. The door was old, warped, and partially ajar, moving slightly in the wind with a creaking groan that sounded disturbingly like a sigh. "Let's just stick together," Emily whispered, her teeth chattering. Jack nodded, and they pushed the door open, stepping into the mansion's main hall. The air inside was cold, musty, and damp, carrying a faint metallic tang, like rusted blood. Dust hung thick in the air, and the flashlight beams cut through the darkness in thin, shaky slices. The grand chandelier that must have once hung proudly in the center of the room was gone, leaving only a skeletal frame dangling from the ceiling. Broken furniture littered the floor, a toppled chair here, a shattered table there, old books with yellowed pages strewn in corners. Every surface seemed to bear the imprint of someone or something that had been there long ago. Waiting, Emily's hand brushed against the wall as they moved further in. The wallpaper was peeling in long strips, revealing dark, stained plaster beneath. Some patches bore scratches that looked too deliberate to be accidental, like the work of fingernails scraping against the walls in terror or anger. She shivered violently. "Jack, this place. It feels wrong." "Yeah," Jack admitted, though he tried to sound braver than he felt. "But it's just old. That's all. Abandoned buildings always feel." Creepy, they moved cautiously toward the lounge, a large room with tall windows, most of them broken. Rainwater had seeped in, pooling on the warped floorboards, creating eerie reflections of the dim flashlight beams. As Emily stepped forward, she froze, hearing a faint sound, barely more than a whisper, like someone exhaling through cracked lips. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. Jack's flashlight swung toward the corners of the room. "Hear what?" He stopped mid-sentence as one of the old armchairs rocked violently on its own. Emily gasped, stepping back as the chair stopped as suddenly as it had moved. The silence that followed was thick, almost suffocating, and their own breathing seemed to echo off the walls. Maybe it's just the wind," Jack suggested, though his voice lacked conviction. The air in the room felt heavy, dense, and alive in a way that made both of them uneasy. Emily's hands trembled as she tried to steady the flashlight. Every corner, every shadow seemed to twitch and shift in the beam of light. Jack pointed toward the staircase at the far end of the hall. "We need to check upstairs, just be careful." As they climbed, the wooden steps creaked under their weight. loud enough to make them both startle. The landing at the top was lined with portraits, faded and torn, their eyes almost seeming to follow the visitors. Emily's stomach knotted. Jack, these people. They're staring at us. Probably just old paintings, Jack muttered, though even he felt a chill run down his spine. They moved down the long hallway, the shadows clinging to the walls like living things. Doors lined either side, some ajar, some closed, all radiating an oppressive sense of waiting. Emily froze as a soft whisper came through the air. Leave. Now. While you still can. Her flashlight shook violently in her hands. Jack reached over and steadied it. It's just the wind, Em. Keep moving. But even as he said it, the words sounded hollow, almost as if the house itself was mocking him. They reached a large room at the end of the hall, where a rusted chest sat under a broken window. Jack's curiosity overrode his fear. He stepped closer, brushing off layers of dust, and lifted the lid. Inside lay an old diary, its leather cover cracked and stained with what looked like dried blood. Emily grabbed it with trembling hands and opened it, scanning the faded, shaky handwriting. Whoever enters here will never leave. Whispering Manor claims its own. Those who walk these halls are never free, and those who linger too long will become part of the whispers. A cold wind swept through the room, extinguishing their flashlights for a moment. In the pitch black, the house seemed to exhale around them. The floorboards groaned under invisible weight, and the walls seemed to pulse, almost breathing. Emily clutched the diary to her chest, her heart hammering. Jack tried the door to leave, but it didn't budge. The handle was stuck, as if held by some unseen force. Panic started to rise in both of them. The whispers returned, louder this time, and surrounding them from all sides. Leave, leave, leave. The voice was not friendly, not human. It was layered, overlapping, echoing from every corner of the house at once. Emily's legs shook, and she pressed herself against the wall. Jack, I don't like this. We should go. Now. I know, Jack said, his voice tight, but we'll figure it out. We just need to stay calm. The shadows in the room seemed to stretch toward them, moving with a mind of their own. The house seemed to close in, the walls pressing outward subtly, the air thick with the metallic scent of something old and rotten. Every step they took to the door made the whispers rise in volume, almost chanting now. Unintelligible yet menacing. Emily turned to look at Jack. I think it knows we're trying to leave. It doesn't want us to go. Jack nodded grimly. Then we need to find another way. Suddenly, a floorboard creaked somewhere above them, though they were the only ones in the house. The sound was deliberate, slow, like someone pacing, waiting. Emily screamed softly, dropping the diary. Jack picked it up quickly and stuffed it into his backpack. The air grew colder still, a deep chill that seemed to creep into their bones. The shadows twisted unnaturally in the corners, stretching long arms that seemed ready to grab them at any moment. Emily's breathing was rapid, panicked. Jack, I don't think we're alone. I really don't. Jack forced a tight smile, though he felt the same fear. We're not alone, but we will make it through. Just keep moving. As they moved toward the stairs again, the whispers escalated, a crescendo of warnings, taunts, and voices overlapping, all demanding them to leave or else. Each step they took felt like they were wading through unseen water, the pressure of the house itself pressing against them, trying to pin them in place. Finally, they reached the staircase that led to the attic, the last room they had yet to explore. Emily hesitated. Do we really have to go up there? Jack swallowed hard. We need to see everything. Then we can leave. We just need to see it. The whispers swirled around them, louder, more insistent. The diary in Jack's backpack seemed to thrum softly, as if reacting to the house. Somewhere deep inside the manor, a door slammed, echoing through the empty halls, and Emily's scream rang out. Muffled but full of terror, Jack reached for her hand, and together, they stepped toward the attic, unaware that the house was already closing in around them, waiting, whispering, and hungry for what it always claimed. Jack and Emily stepped cautiously into the attic, their flashlights barely piercing the thick darkness that seemed to swallow everything whole. The air was colder here, heavier, carrying a scent that was metallic, sharp, and ancient, like dried blood mixed with decay. Each step on the wooden floorboards groaned under their weight, echoing ominously throughout the vast, empty space. The shadows were long and distorted, stretching across the walls and ceiling like twisted fingers reaching for them. Every instinct screamed for them to turn back, but the diary in Jack's backpack weighed on him, pulling him forward with a mix of curiosity and dread. The attic was littered with relics of forgotten lives, trunks covered in dust, broken furniture stacked haphazardly, and a scattering of old photographs. Faces stared out from the faded images, eyes dark and hollow, as if they had witnessed the house's unspeakable horrors and paid the price. Emily shivered violently, hugging herself. Jack, I don't like this. It's watching us. I know, Jack admitted, his voice tight. I can feel it too. Just stay close. As they moved deeper into the attic, the temperature dropped suddenly, their breath forming small clouds in the dim flashlight beams. A faint whisper slid along the walls, soft and sinister. You shouldn't have come. It was closer now, as if a presence was circling them, unseen but palpable. Emily's hand tightened around Jack's arm. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the far corner of the attic. It wasn't just a trick of the light. It had shape, form, and intent. Two glowing red eyes stared at them, unblinking, chilling them to the core. Emily gasped, her legs threatening to give out. Beneath her, Jack. What is that? Jack swallowed hard, his throat dry. I don't know, but we need to move. He tried to take a step forward, and the floor seemed to shift under him, uneven and alive. The shadows in the room began to twist, stretching toward them with impossible speed, curling around corners and creeping across the floor like smoke given substance. The whispers intensified, layering over each other until they became a cacophony of voices. Stay, stay, stay. They reached a small, partially boarded window and looked out. Beyond, the storm raged, lightning illuminating the twisted trees and the mud-caked driveway far below. But the storm outside did nothing to comfort them. The danger was here, inside the house. Emily gripped Jack's arm. We can't stay here. It's alive. Before Jack could respond, the attic door slammed shut behind them, hard enough to rattle the walls. Dust and debris swirled in the sudden gust of wind. The red-eyed shadow began to move, gliding across the floor, circling them in an unnatural, fluid motion. Jack swung his flashlight directly at it, but it dissolved into the darkness, only for more shadows to emerge from the corners, multiplying, shifting, closing in. Panic set in. Jack, we need to get out, Emily screamed, tears streaking her face. Jack grabbed her hand. I know. There has to be a way. They ran toward the opposite side of the attic, stepping over broken furniture and old trunks. Each step seemed to take longer than the last, the floorboards groaning and creaking under an invisible weight. The shadows followed, crawling closer, almost whispering, almost laughing. One shadow stretched toward Emily's shoulder, brushing against her. She screamed, and Jack pulled her back, but the contact had already made her skin crawl. Then came the voice, louder than ever, a guttural, overlapping chorus that seemed to come from the very walls themselves. You belong to us. You belong. Jack turned, shining his flashlight at the center of the room, and saw it, the shadow coalescing into a dark, humanoid figure, taller than any person, with eyes that burned crimson in the dim light. Its mouth twisted into a silent, mocking grin. It raised a hand, and the shadows around them surged forward like a wave, threatening to engulf them. Emily screamed again, almost hysterical, and Jack felt the icy fingers of fear squeeze his heart. He grabbed a heavy wooden beam and swung it at the figure. The shadow rippled, distorting as if his attack had barely touched it. The whispers turned into a deafening roar. Every corner of the attic seemed alive, every object vibrating with malevolent energy. Jack and Emily realized the house itself was working against them, a living entity, using shadows, wind, and fear as weapons. Every instinct told them to run, but every path seemed blocked by walls that shifted subtly, shadows that moved faster than human eyes could follow. They were trapped. Emily clutched the diary, and Jack remembered the words written there. Whispering Manor claims its own. Those who linger too long will become part of the whispers. His stomach churned. The house didn't just scare you, it consumed you, absorbed your fear, and made you part of its endless torment. They darted toward a set of stairs leading down, hoping for an exit, but the stairwell stretched impossibly, the bottom fading into darkness that seemed to go on forever. The walls pulsed like living tissue, breathing in time with the whispers. Emily collapsed against Jack, sobbing. I can't do this." Jack grabbed her shoulder. "We have to. Come on. We have to try." The shadows surged up the stairs, reaching for them with elongated, claw-like fingers. Jack and Emily ran, stumbling, falling, catching themselves against the warped railing. Every heartbeat echoed like a drum, every scream swallowed by the oppressive darkness. They could feel the presence of the mansion pressing down on them, pushing, testing, hunting. At the landing, they saw a door that looked slightly newer, as if it had been added later. Desperation gave them courage. Jack threw it open, and a rush of wind hit them, carrying the scent of rain and mud from the outside world. They tumbled through the doorway, landing hard on wet grass outside. The rain had slowed, the storm now a dull roar. Jack helped Emily to her feet, both of them trembling, soaked, and breathless. They turned to look at the mansion. It loomed there silently, shadows curling in the broken windows like tendrils. Its shape seemed to shift subtly in the dim moonlight, as if it were alive, watching, waiting. The whispers that had filled their ears were gone, or at least quiet, but the oppressive presence remained, as though the house itself were aware of their escape and biding its time. Emily sank to her knees in the mud, shivering violently. "It's still there. I can feel it." Jack nodded, pulling her close. "I know, but we're out. For now." The mansion stood silently, yet every instinct screamed that it was far from done. The broken windows seemed like empty eyes following them, the gnarled trees leaning closer as if to block their path back to safety. The diary in Jack's backpack pulsed faintly, like it had absorbed a piece of the house's malevolence. They both knew that the Whispering Manor had claimed something from them that night. Something invisible, lingering, something that might never leave them. As they stumbled back toward their car, the wind shifted, carrying faint whispers, almost inaudible, but unmistakable. "We will see you again. You belong to us." Jack glanced back, and for a brief instant, the shadows in the windows twisted into a form, a dark humanoid silhouette with eyes that burned like coals, and then it was gone. Neither of them spoke as they got into the car, drenched, shivering, hearts racing. The engine roared to life, and they sped away, the mansion disappearing into the rain and fog behind them. But even as they drove towards safety, the house lingered. In their minds, a permanent reminder that some places, some evils, were not meant to be faced and survived. And somewhere deep within the walls of the Whispering Manor, the shadows waited, patient and hungry, knowing that Jack and Emily's fear would call them back someday. The house did not forgive. The house did not forget. The house claimed what it wanted, and eventually, everyone belongs to it.
Please like and subscribe channel Fear Frequency for more horror stories. Thank you.